Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're looking at Luke chapter 22, and today, particularly verses 24 through 30. Jesus has just declared or announced or revealed who his betrayer is. It was Judas who went out to betray him at this point, to put together the group of men who would arrest Jesus and take him to the priest, the high priest, and take him to be crucified. Now we see that Jesus is still at the table with his disciples, and can you imagine what happens next? In verse 24, now there was also a dispute among them as to which of them should be considered the greatest. And he said to them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those who exercise authority over them are called benefactors. But not so among you. On the contrary, he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he who governs as he who serves. For who is greater, he who sits at the table or he who serves? Is not he who sits at the table? Yet I am among you as one who serves. But you are those who have continued with me in my trials, and I bestow on you a kingdom just as my Father bestowed one upon me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. It's amazing that here, after Jesus has washed their feet, Jesus has shared the Passover, Jesus has announced that someone is going to betray him. They are sitting there arguing over who is going to be the greatest in the kingdom. It still hasn't dawned on them what Jesus has told them several times. Matter of fact, back in Luke chapter 9, Jesus had told them that he was going to be crucified. And it was at that point that they didn't even seem to hear it. Went in one ear and out the other. And they're disputing even then on the way to Jerusalem who's going to be the greatest in the kingdom. And I can imagine with Judas among them, they're all thinking, hey, I'll be sitting next to Jesus in his kingdom. I'll be ruling over. I don't know what they were talking about, but they were all trying to put themselves over another person as one of the disciples of Christ. And it's so sad that that happens even in our churches today. And Jesus, as he heard them disputing among themselves, he teaches them a lesson. He says, now listen, we're not to be like the Gentiles, okay? They have those in the Roman, especially Empire, who promote themselves, and legally and illegally they'll do anything to get places of honor and places of power and authority. Almost sounds like today. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll be corrupt, whatever it takes to get to the top. And even in the corporations, in the corporate world. It is so sad because Jesus said, now that might be the way the Gentiles, and then those who get there, they're called benefactors. In other words, they're given titles of honor, and therefore that's what they're striving for, to be recognized, to be somebody, to be famous. And yet when they get there, they're finding out that it's really not what it is made up to be. Now, so Jesus says, it's not going to be that way amongst my people. Matter of fact, I'm the example. I'm one who serves. Who sits at the table? Well, of course, the one who is honored, the one who is a part of the authority group. But he says, I'm the one that served you all just a few minutes ago. I washed your feet. And then, of course, he says, that's the way it's to be among you. And you are to serve. And the truth in my kingdom, the greatest is the one who serves. You know, I love the way Oswald Chambers put it. He said that we are to be doormats for people. Now, nobody likes somebody else rubbing their dirt off, their feet off on you. Nobody likes that. But my friend Jesus said that's what we're supposed to be, basically. And I've always thought, well, if they rub their feet off and their dirt off on me, hopefully they're cleaner now than they were before. And thank God I have the opportunity to serve. Now, it's not easy always to have that attitude, but you look to Jesus, who is your example. And then Jesus says, now listen, in the coming kingdom, you will be honored. You'll be sitting on the thrones of the 12 tribes of Israel. You will be sitting and feasting at my table. Yet we have something to look forward to. But now we are servants. We're doormats for Jesus. I trust you'll be one for someone today as you serve them. God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.